Were you taught that being busy meant being productive? And are you still holding on to that myth? Well, I'm here to bust it for you and give you some freedom. Freedom to be creative and freedom to just be. Permission to just be. I'm Michelle Henshaw, coach and mentor to heart-driven business leaders and owners. And there's been a lot of talk in my communities recently about the struggle when it comes to just being, to being still and to taking time out and to doing nothing. It's a struggle for most of us. And even I am probably a lifelong work in progress where this is concerned, but I do know beyond any of a shadow of a doubt how crucial it is. Not only from my own experience and experience with the hundreds of clients I've worked with, but also from a scientific point of view. There's research to support all of this. So I'm here to encourage you to take time out and to be still, because, you know, just think about how you feel when you're overwhelmed and too busy and you're feeling every moment of the day and every cell of your mind. Just think about how you actually feel. And if you've ever worked for someone else, just think back to those days. I know, particularly for me, I used to work in advertising. It was a notoriously stressful, pressured environment. And there was always a tendency to for us all to feel as if we had to be the first in the office and the last to leave. That was just the culture. And yet, as I became a leader in those businesses, as I became management and onto director level, and so I was responsible for people, I started to really study this, and I started to notice that the people that were in the office the longest, the most amount of hours, were, generally speaking, the least productive. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Well, actually not so when you know the science behind it. But that was pretty much always the case. And yet in the West, where it's kind of embedded behaviour, we're taught, because we've been an industrious nation in the past, not so much now, we're more of a service nation, but we've been an industrious nation in the past. And so we've been taught that being busy is good, that being busy equals being productive, that being busy means that you're of value. And actually, I want to invite you to think and feel about this in an entirely different way. Because let's just talk about the line of work. Let's just talk about the work that I do with my clients. I work with people to establish their purpose, their life path, and then help them to design and build a business that provides that life for them and that enables them to walk that path. Now that requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of exploration. It requires a lot of going deep. It also requires a lot of creativity and a lot of space to think about and feel into, more importantly, what is right, what really feels right, what the right direction is, where the right path lies. Now, I can't do any of that work with my clients, and my clients can't do that work themselves if they don't create the space, the head space and the heart space to act intuitively, to feel and think intuitively, and to create the space for the things that we plan for and dream about and desire, the space for those to drop in, and the space for that creativity to happen. And so I actively, and this might be a contradiction in terms, I actively encourage my clients to be inactive. That does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? But trust me, stay with me on this. Here's the thing. Do you remember the story of the tortoise and the hare? The tortoise and the hare that engaged in a race, and the hare was just, full steam ahead, boom, 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 high speed, not taking anything in, not noticing any obstacles, not really taking any notice of anything, just speed was of the essence. He just wanted to get where he was meant to go. And the tortoise just took his time. He stopped for a bit of contemplation along the way. He met people along the way that helped him. He made connections. People that helped him on his journey kind of took him part of the way. The hare saw that as cheating. And he was just focused on the journey rather than on the destination. So he was trolling along, just enjoying himself, meeting people, chatting, stopping for a snack. And all the time the hare was wearing himself to a frazzle and not enjoying the process, not enjoying the race. And obstacles came up for him that took him by surprise and knocked him off course because he wasn't prepared. And he made the journey alone, and so he wasn't enjoying it, and he wasn't taking in everything all the wonderful things he was that were there for him to see and experience along the way, because he was just focused on that end goal, that finish line. And also he wore himself to a frazzle. He tired himself out to the point where little old Tortoise comes up behind him, had a bit of help along the way, was well rested, happy, had enjoyed the whole thing, and beat him over the finish line. You probably know the story, right? Well, do you operate like the hare or like the tortoise? Because I encourage my clients, and I try myself, but I am a constant work in progress with this, to be more tortoise than hare. Now, I totally get that there are times when you might be up against a deadline and you have to be a little bit more hare. But the majority of the time, we all have the opportunity to be way more tortoise. And yet we choose invariably to be more hare. So I want to invite you to just try being a little bit more tortoise. You know, slowing down and stepping back and taking time out, and particularly, you know, how passionate I am about self-care, particularly taking time out to just reflect and nurture and feed ourselves, whether that's nutritionally or physically or spiritually, how incredibly important that is. Do we create time for that? Do we create time for positive connections, new experiences, new ways of doing things? Are we open to new ways of doing things? Do we notice what's going on around us? Really notice? Because all of those things feed into our rounded, holistic experience of life. They're the things that make life a joyous experience, right? And can even make our businesses a joyous experiences, because we and our businesses are not separate. We're aligned, whether we like it or not. We cannot separate them. And so I've just been reflecting on this recently and encouraging myself to be a little bit more tortoise. And here's the irony, here's the paradox. When I step back and I take time out and I'm just still and do nothing, or I meditate, or I go out for a walk, or I just sit and contemplate, those are the times, without fail, that the ideas come and the inspiration arrives and I feel enriched. And so I suppose you could argue that those moments of stillness are the most productive. How crazy is that? So I just wanted to share my contemplation with you and just invite you, as the week goes on, it's still only early in the week, to maybe just allow yourself to be a little bit more tortoise and a bit less hare. That's it from me for now. Let me know what you think about this, as always. I'd love to hear your comments, and let me know how you get on with it, and whether by the end of the week you can reflect back and think, have I been more tortoise or more hare? And have you won the race? Either way. Bye for now. Catch you next time.